Hi, I'm Sherry Zook. I'm going to share with you a recipe today on whole wheat honey bread, shared with me by my friend Cynthia. Yeast can be tricky when you're getting started with it, but after you've worked with it a while, it's way less intimidating. I started baking bread when I was 12 or 13 years old and threw out a lot of batches until I got it started going right. But it's less intimidating now, although I still have my off days. Hopefully this won't be one of them. Two things get yeast excited, and that is sugar or honey. Honey has the same effect. Sugar and heat. Whoa, how did I get out here? Don't tell me my camera stopped rolling and I had to record this later. Okay, a lot of recipes say lukewarm water, but lukewarm is not going to do enough for the yeast. So you need it to bite your finger a little bit when you poke your finger in. This recipe has all the ingredients mixed together, so we can use really hot water. So we're going to do it pretty much as hot as my tap can handle here. Oh, we have some pretty hot water here. You can see steam coming off of it, and that's fine. It's going to be all mixed together, and the heat is going to be really good for the yeast. Okay, I need 5 cups. Okay, you can watch. Pour that in there and add the rest of our ingredients. First of all, some salt. Are you going to pour it in? And some honey. Now the thing about honey is that it's expensive, even though it's, healthier. So I usually just do a 1/4 cup of honey and a 1/2 cup of sugar instead of the full 3/4 cup that the recipe calls for. Okay, get the oil.
The wet stuff.
That's right. Okay, and then we're going to add 7 cups of whole wheat flour. This is going to be half of the flour that's in the whole batch. Half of it will be whole wheat and half will be high gluten. I like whole wheat because it's very healthy, and I like high gluten because it makes it really soft dough. Much more soft than using a regular all-purpose flour. This is 4, 5,
8,
6, 7.
11.
That was 7, right? And then we're going to measure the yeast in on top. I keep my yeast in the freezer. It keeps it fresh for months, really. Okay, I almost forgot to add the sugar. I have totally forgotten before, and it did fine with just a 1/4 cup of honey, but I do like it better with this. So we'll add that and get it started mixing. Gently at first. Scrape down the sides, make sure that it's all getting mixed. Just going to give it a good heat, and then we're going to make this side. Alright, we're going to grab a very large bowl. I like to wipe it out so the sides are slightly damp because it retains the flour better. Okay, we start with 2 cups in the bottom of the bowl. And you can see I just sort of sprinkle it around like that. Second one. Softly. And then we're going to pour our bread dough in on top of there and give it a chance to rest. Sorry. While it is still quite runny. This will give it a chance to absorb more flour now while it's soft, instead of trying to work with it right now to get it to the right consistency. We'll have to add less flour long term if we give it a rest time right now. Okay, it's all in the bowl, and we're going to cover it up with another 2 cups of flour.
Kelly's taking up all the space. No.
Okay, you can see that after a 20-minute rest, the bread dough has gotten up through the flour. It's all bubbly. In fact, it started to fall a little bit because I forgot about it and let it too long. So what we're going to do is we're going to stir this with a spoon, and we're going to add some more flour. I told you that the whole wheat 7 cups was half of what we needed, so we're going to add another 7 or 8 of high gluten. We started with 4 in the bowl, and this is 5, and 6, And I think we're going to add the 7th one right now as well. If you had a mixer big enough to do this, you could go ahead and do this in the mixer, but I don't. I have a KitchenAid, so this is the point at which we shift to doing it by hand. It still is very soft dough and easy to work with. Okay, when it's stirred as much as you can, pretty much with a spoon, we're going to use the last cup of flour to prepare a place to knead the bread by hand. Okay, we're going to overturn it onto a little bed of flour. Scrape out all of our goop in here. Sprinkle the last of the 8th cup over the top. And save a little bit just in case we don't need it all. And then at the beginning when you start kneading, you have to just work it from the sides a little bit. You can't do a true knead because the dough is still so soft. So I just keep working, always keeping flour between my hands and the softest dough. And working out from the outsides into the center. And soon we'll be able to do a true knead, which is like this. With your wrists, you are bent, gouging in, pushing in, and doing a quarter turn, and pushing again. So we push it like this, do a quarter turn, and push with the wrists again. It's just a gentle way of working in more flour and making the bread dough elastic. Okay, we've kneaded it as long as it needs to be kneaded now. The amount of flour that you add depends on a lot of things, the temperature of your water and the humidity of the day. I added the last of the 8th cup for a total of 15 cups, but basically you want a certain feel in the bread dough, and that is that it's elastic. It's not sticking to my countertop, but it's also not totally holding its shape. You can see that it is relaxing like that. It should be extremely soft and pliable. So we are done with this now. I'm going to drop it into my bowl again and cover it up with a cloth and give it a little rest. Okay, it looks like we're left with a big mess, but it's not as bad as it looks. I usually scrape it gently with a little spatula or turner to get off the part that is stuck to the countertop. And then, using a Kleenex or paper towel, just scoop it right into the trash. Give it a little wipe with a dishcloth, and we're totally... Okay, after 30 minutes, our bread dough should be doubled in size. Nice and puffy. We're going to punch it down. It's just a way of letting the air out. Cover it up with a cloth and let it rest again. After 25 minutes, it's puffy again. You punch it again. And once again, let it rest for 15 minutes. If I'm in too much of a hurry, I sometimes skip the last 15-minute step. Okay, after the last 15 minutes of rising, it will look like this, and we're ready to shape it into loaves. So we're going to turn it out onto a very lightly floured surface. It won't stick very much. Okay, we're going to cut it into 5 pieces as evenly as we can. Come. I don't have a kitchen scale, so I just do it as close as I can. Okay, we're going to shape one into a loaf. Take a rolling pin and get it sort of flat, but not too flat, and start from one end and roll it up. And pinch the seam here to seal it. Turn that part down. And then you thump it with your fist like this to get out all the air bubbles. Some people prick it with a fork, but this leaves no marks at all. Just fluff it up a little bit. Spray the pan and set it in. The thumping is Kelly's favorite part. She always has to help during this part. Good job. Okay. Put it in here, and we'll get all 5 loaves together and cover them up with a cloth to rest again. All right. After 30 minutes of baking, I'm going to pull out some really pretty loaves. Okay, pop them out of the hot pan like this. If they don't come out, you can run a knife around the edge, but usually they come out just fine. And leave them on the wire rack to cool. Here, our bread is perfectly cool now. I had it on wire racks to cool. You can see the texture here. A little bit crusty on the outside. We're going to slice it open and see how it is. Beautiful. Little hole in the middle, but basically a fine texture and very, very soft feel. I don't think I can do this. Let's start over. Let's stop. Okay.
Dad, someone's coming down our way.
Thanks for telling us.